Hey historians, Mr. Birch here with 8th grade social studies test practice questions. Today we're going to be talking about early U.S. industrialization. And as always, when you see the question, press pause, take a moment to read and answer, then press play and we'll go over it together. All right, let's get started. Which of these occurred during early U.S. industrialization? Well, what is the question asking? That's the first thing we always need to know. Well, this one's pretty straightforward. Early U.S. industrialization. So the first part of U.S. industrialization. That's what we need to be focusing on. So what can we eliminate? Let's look at the question choices, the answer choices here. Manufacturers instituted a 5-day work week. Labor laws required factories to provide safe working environments. Workers were required to attend schools to develop technical skills. And production of goods transitioned from homes to factories. Well, let's see what we can eliminate. Which one of these don't make sense? Manufacturers instituted a 5-day work week. Well, this one doesn't make sense because the manufacturers who ran these factories were trying to make as much money as possible. And so what we know about U.S. history tells us that, well, they were trying to get as many people working as many hours as they possibly could for as little money as they could pay them. So it doesn't make sense that they would limit it to just 5 days, especially in early U.S. industrialization. Labor laws required that factories be provided with a safe working environment. That's exactly the opposite of what happened. There was no laws in place to force these factory owners into making it a very safe and clean environment for the workers. In fact, it was exact opposite. All right, well, what do we have to know? Well, industry and the growth of industry, called industrialization, is the process of primary goods, things like cotton, mined minerals, crops, etc. Well, it's the process of those things being reconfigured or manufactured, altered, and changed into a secondary good, which would be things like textiles, which textiles, by the way, are cloth, fabric, things like this, steel, machinery, etc. So industrialization was a long process, but over the decades, starting in the late 1700s and early 1800s, many products began to be manufactured more efficiently and cheaply in factories rather than individual people's homes. Okay, so let's look at that and see what our possible answer will be. Well, production of goods transitioned from homes to factories. That is what industrialization is. It's the growth of industry. Well, let's talk about industrialization in the United States and see if we can learn a little bit. Here on the left, you have a picture of Lowell, Massachusetts. Lowell mills were all the mills and factories in Lowell, Massachusetts, and in one of the New England colonies. And at the bottom, you see an early image of an early factory. So industrialization, again, as I've said before, is simply the growth of industry. And industry, I want you to think factories. For the most part, factories and mills, that's what we have for industry. And industry is simply the manufacturing of goods. Industrialization began in the 1790s in the U.S. with the first textile mills spinning cotton into cloth. The War of 1812 forced us to actually have to produce more of our own clothing because we were no longer trading with Great Britain. So this actually increased industrialization in the United States, the War of 1812. Textiles, as I said before, are another name for cloth or fabric made of interwoven fibers. With the faster and cheaper production from factories, less people produced homemade goods, and more people began moving from rural areas to urban areas, otherwise known as industrial centers, to find jobs. So this caused people to move to these cities to look for work in factories because people couldn't produce and sell things from their home as efficiently or as cheaply as people could from factories. The New England states saw the highest growth in industry.